Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boom and Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host Terry, and today recapping our Week 6 loss, against the Minnesota Vikings. So full disclosure, not feeling great, but we're going to push through. Won't be before you long. So overall, we come into this game. The Vikings have a defense that's I would say better in the past this year than they were last year. A lot better, but worse in the run. And still overall, you're talking about a bottom 20, whatever, or below 20 defense overall. And then you got, of course, Justin Jefferson out on the offensive side. So Kirk Cousins has been pretty prolific in general with the offense, but haven't really seen it without Justin Jefferson. So all that's working. Then the Bears coming off the momentum of their wins as well. So we go into this game. Well, we had one win. Sorry. I keep thinking of the Broncos as a win because, we were able to have an offensive explosion, but obviously we lost that game. So anyway, all right, so some of the big things. On defense, we'll start there. I don't necessarily think a ton of pressure, but we did collapse the pocket. And that's kind of what I talked about in a couple games that we've been in, like with Baker and the Bucks. So you didn't necessarily, obviously on a blitz, we got there, but you didn't necessarily have guys beating people, but we were collapsing the pocket and making it more uncomfortable. And I think Kirk Cousins was a little more bothered by that than I probably would have expected. And then I just thought the play calling didn't help them out really because they kept running a lot of in-breaking routes and stuff to the middle of the field, where we were playing a lot of cover two and we were just sitting on that in the middle of the field, and that's where they kept throwing it, and it was a little interesting to me. Again, I don't see the all 22, so there might be other options out there that aren't in the middle of the field, but it seemed like they were putting a lot of routes towards the middle of the field. But anyway, so that I think helped us. And then our front seven played well against the run, and that's something that I said before the game started. I was pretty confident that our front seven would be able to handle their run. I mean, they're not a great rushing offense this year. And as I said before, just when play straight up with our defensive line, especially our interior, we're pretty good. And the linebackers are active, and I'm sure the overall numbers, people will act like we're not good at anything, but I think we're pretty solid against the run, especially, again, when it's not a lot of misdirection, which they didn't really try a lot of. So just running into the interior of us, I don't think, was going to work out for them. And I talked about in my keys before the game, I was talking about first down. And I think for the most part, we did pretty well because what you didn't want is for the Vikings to end up in 2nd and 5 or shorter all game, because then that's when things were going to get a little dicey. Especially, you didn't necessarily want us in a short passing situation, but we did pretty well. And even when we were in short passing situations, again, credit to the coverage, credit to, I guess you want to say, the pressure. We made it uncomfortable enough for them where we were able to get out of those spots. And then offensively, back to normal. Justin Fields, look, I put it in the community. It's one thing when we talk about Justin Fields can't see the field. He throws with no anticipation. No anticipation. So even if he sees it, like there's certain plays where we're like, he has to see that. He sees it, but if it's not wide open, he's not pulling the trigger. So he's scared to throw and he doesn't have any anticipation on it. And so that doesn't help, of course, when you have the pressure that we get. So as I said before with Fields and as I said with Trubisky, this is everybody. And of course, we're going to have the arguments again, but at the end of the day, there's plays where the offensive line gives him no time. There's plays where he has to make a play, like the very first, I think it was the first play he got sacked. Well, whatever, it was the first sack of the game. And it's like they have a double A gap mug. The whole thing is covered. If they blitz everybody, you know you're going to have a free blitzer. So you as the quarterback need to know the protection. You need to set the protection, change it if necessary. Then you have to account for the free rusher. That was terrible on all accounts. I don't care what you want to say. That I'm putting that on the quarterback. And if you're in the NFL and you don't have the ability to change that at the line, then that's also a problem that's because of you. So I have to blame that on Justin. But then there's plays where the play call sucks. And one thing that stood out to me, I don't remember exactly what drive it was, but it was 3rd and 7. It had to be the third quarter. And we ended up, or was it the fourth? But we ended up running the ball because our backup was in at that point. But it was 3rd and 7. We end up running the ball. And so the fans were booing and everything. And we set it up for just a little bit of a shorter field goal. And I thought that was a bad play call. But the thing you got to realize, especially like looking at the sideline, that really made it click to me, is that probably is the head coach. Like, the play call is, I don't care. I mean, for the most part, I always say if you execute a play right, I mean, it could hit and then everybody's going to cheer. But the biggest thing to me was the philosophy there. Let's be conservative. Let's not put it in the quarterback's hands. Let's run and kick it. Same thing with the 4th and 1, because again, you know, in this spot, 3rd and 7, people going to say, wow, how conservative. You suck, blah, blah, blah. You know, probably blame Getsy, even if it's Eberflus. Blame Eberflus, says he's conservative. But when it was 4th and 1 against the Broncos, then everybody was like, whoa, you're too aggressive. Why don't you just kick the field goal there? So, you know, but it comes down to philosophy for me. And so you have to understand that when it comes to the philosophy, regardless of what the play call is, that's the head coach's decision. More than likely, I mean, it's a possibility where Eberflus does nothing. But from what we know about this team, Eberflus absolutely, like I would say 90% of head coaches, makes that choice. Probably obviously asks what you want to do, what you think, but he says, okay, let's run it here. Let's just get a few yards and kick the field goal. And that's a conservative approach that is on Eberflus. And I'm not really saying it's bad or good, but I think sometimes people look at the wrong things because I don't really care this inside zone. Like, we ran the inside zone. We run that all game. When we were ripping off runs, it's the same inside zone or the same split zone. It's the same thing. So to sit here and be like, that's a terrible play call. Again, people just use a play call as a catch-all. You got to understand what you're talking about. So if you're talking about strategic-wise, philosophy-wise, down and distance, that's fine. You can be upset that we ran the ball there, but I think people need to realize that's Eberflus more than just Getsy saying, hey, I think this is a good time to run the ball. So there's that. Justin Fields, I already talked about it. I mean, the offense is what it is. We can't protect, and Justin Fields has problems. It's a bad matchup. And then on top of that, our backup quarterback, I can't remember or how to pronounce his name. I don't have time to look it up. But everybody's going to want to talk about that. And to be quite frank, and I probably should have said up front, I didn't see the scoring drive. Again, I'm not feeling well, been in and out. But I saw his first drive. I saw his last drive. I think he had 3. So I think I saw 2 of the 3. But even, you know, with him scoring and everything, I didn't have to see it to know kind of what it is. He's a young quarterback, obviously. This is a lot going on. He's not ready. Like, if you're talking about benching Fields, of course not. People are going to talk about trading Fields, letting him run, you know, letting our backup ride through the year. Yeah, you could do that. I mean, because if you're doing that, you already pretty much saying, yeah, we're going to lose. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how bad he looks. I don't know that you'll have a guy for the future, but you might have a backup. But in terms of if the question is, hey, can he be a guy right now for us? No, I'm not going there because there are things that you like in terms of velocity, in terms of athletic ability. Obviously, he's not Fields, but he can move. But even maybe anticipation. We don't know. We haven't really seen those situations. Well, I should take that back. I think he's thrown with some good anticipation, but at the end of the day, it's not like the pressure is going to be different for him than it was Justin. And so with that type of pressure, that's just a tough spot to put any quarterback in, especially a young quarterback like that. But then on top of that, you saw with the interception, which I saw before, I'm like, you can't make some of them throws. He's just panicking. That's all he's doing is panicking. That's not a good sign. Now, again, this is your first ever action in the NFL, your rookie year. Not to say you're going to be like that forever. But again, if the question is bench Justin Fields, absolutely not, because I don't know that you're going to be able to get in a position to keep this quarterback effective after you saw what happened to him. And the Vikings have been getting after it, but they're not the best defense out there. And so you're going to see tougher defenses. So there'll be something. And then obviously if Fields is hurt, we'll see him and he'll play and we'll see what he looks like. But I'm just, talking, getting ahead of the questions that might come up, because as soon as he came in, I'm like, okay, here we go. Now we're going to have all the Justin Fields defenders saying, look how bad this guy is. This the guy you wanted. Or we're going to have all the Justin Field haters saying, look, this guy, the offense was fine when he was in. And so, or it was just going to be okay. But you knew either way, this was going to give ammo to the narrative. So that was absolutely a big moment for the Bears. But in terms of my evaluation, I mean, he's a young rookie quarterback. That's all he is. And the offense isn't magically going to be different. I know a lot of people want to keep talking like it's going to be, but it's not magically different with a different quarterback. Not saying that Justin's perfect or anything, obviously, but there's bigger issues than Justin. I think was pretty clear. And then, I mean, I thought our running game was pretty solid, but as I've said before, it's not, I wouldn't even say creative. It's not a variety. I mean, I'm not going to say there's no creativity with the run game, but is not as much as some people like to make it out to be. I think the run game, more so than the pass game, is very, very much, it's no reinventing the wheel. A lot of these concepts now, you might scheme it a little different. You might change a block here, or you might do it out of a different formation, but the concepts are there. But there's so many out there that you don't really need new ones. But the thing with us, we run inside zone, we run split zone, we run some type of pitch to the outside, some type of perimeter. We really start running pin and pulls, and sometimes we'll run a dive. And I'm not saying we haven't done anything besides that, but those are probably 90%, if not more, of our runs. And so I feel like we could be doing a lot more with that. And Getsy, some coordinators aren't great at it, but that's putting everything on Getsy. He has other staff there too that might be experts at the run. And either way, we're just not putting it together as much as we could, because, like I said, our key for the game was to get some perimeter plays so that we could loosen up the middle of the defense and have them worried about the perimeter. And we did that in the first few drives. We started to do that, and it was fine. And honestly, again, us running in the interior all game was pretty effective. But once you don't have anything off of that in terms of the pass game, it didn't matter at that point. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know that there's too much else to talk about. I think the game was pretty sloppy. I mean, there were some tough calls for the officials, because I think TJ Edwards was definitely out of bounds. I saw it in live speed. I was like, his toe, and it depends on what you mean by have control. Just because you're on top of the ball or like touching it doesn't mean you have control. I don't really know what that definition is, but to me, I thought his toe hit out of bounds before he ever like cradled it or anything. That's what I said, live action. But that's a tough call. And then the what is it called? Intentional grounding on the Vikings' second to last drive. That was a bad call. I wouldn't even say tough. And then there's some other ones too. It was tough. It was some sloppy play, some bad mistakes. Velus Jones got bailed out because he almost screwed us trying to return that. I mean, it was a lot of. It wasn't a clean game either way. But yeah, I'm sure I'll have more to talk about later, but overall, we're getting back to the norm. Again, as I said before, we still have some defenses coming up that might give us a chance, but overall, the team's kind of been what I've expected it to be. So anyway, go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe. And remember, if you heard, oh, sorry. I almost said the other intro. Sorry. The other outro. Stay up and bear down, everybody.